Hello everyone. Before we get started with today's lecture, I want to spend a few minutes talking about the cheating section of the course syllabus. Where can you find this information? You can go to the course website and click on syllabus page. Then you need to scroll slightly past the middle of the syllabus page to find the cheating section. Why am I all of a sudden talking about cheating? I want to make absolutely sure that all of you are aware of what is considered acceptable and not acceptable with respect to programming projects for this particular course. As all of you are aware, you're allowed to collaborate with exactly one project partner for a given project. The expectation is that you'll collaborate extensively with your project partner. As I mentioned a few lectures ago, the difficulty level for projects is going to progressively increase. Now would be a good time for you to go find a project partner if you haven't found one already. You can head to the Discord channel if you're still looking for a project partner. You're allowed to talk about your code or share high-level pseudocode steps or diagrams with anyone in this class. They don't have to essentially be your project partner, but be very careful not to share detailed steps about your logical thought process to solve a particular question. That will lead to both of you coming up with similar code that is considered as plagiarism. You can point friends to online resources like Piazza Stack Overflow. You're always allowed to work with anyone in this class to go through worksheets or interactive exercises that are released as part of the lecture material. You can copy code snippets from examples that are online that is not specific to your project. Of course, if project solutions are leaked online, you may not use that. That is considered as plagiarism. Whenever you copy code snippets from online examples, you're expected to include citation for that particular source. How do you include a citation? You can leave a comment above the code snippet stating that you copied that particular code snippet from a certain website, or stating that source for the below code snippet is a particular website. Just like when you write an English essay and include somebody else's words within double quotations as a statement, you will be expected to include citation for any code snippet that you copied and did not write on your own for the project. Please make sure to follow this citation rule for all other sources outside the course material created by instructors. What do I mean by course material created by instructors? That would be slide decks and lab description. Whenever you copy a snippet of code from the slide deck or the lab description, you don't have to include a citation for that. For any other copied code snippets, including from the books which you go through for readings, you are expected to include a citation for the source of the copied code snippet. Let's talk about what is considered as not acceptable. Looking at somebody else's project code and typing it line by line is definitely a red flag. By somebody else, we mean non project partners. Copy pasting code from a non partner, immaterial of whether you have included a citation or not, is not allowed. Either ways, that's considered as plagiarism. Sharing your code with another student via email, Slack, or any other means of communication is totally not allowed. You're also not allowed to take pictures of project solutions from non project partners. Reading code line by line from a non project partner or to a non project partner is not allowed. Stealing code from a non project partner without their knowledge is definitely not allowed. Please don't do this. Every semester, inevitably, we end up flagging cases where, like, one student stole the code from another student without their knowledge. This totally ruins friendship. You're breaking the trustworthy relationship that the other student has with you. Nothing is worth losing friendships. Do not share detailed step by step pseudocode or diagrams with non project partners. Let me talk about what is considered unacceptable with respect to project partnership itself. Project partners should not come up with a deal stating that they will work separately on alternate projects. That does not make any sense. Similarly, project partners should not work separately on two halves of the project and just weave those together to make a submission. Even if you work on parts on your own, you're expected to collaborate with your project partner. Make sure that both of you understand the thought process and the syntax for that particular part of the project. Let me talk about what would be the penalty if your work is caught doing plagiarism. When somebody's work is flagged for plagiarism, all of the involved students will receive a zero score, and all of you will be reported to the Office of Student Misconduct. Immaterial of whether you gave your code or received somebody else's code, the penalty is going to be the same for any involved student, and the penalty would be zero score and report to the Office of Student Conduct. I hope that nobody will cheat as part of this semester. Every semester, I hope that. Please make sure to work really hard on the programming projects so that you're able to learn the material of this course well. Let me switch to the slide deck from the previous lecture, and we are going to go through the demo problem for finding a median. The input for this particular program is going to be a list of numbers. Those could either be integers or floating point values. The output is going to be the median number. When you want to compute average of a list of numbers, it's very easy to do that. You can just compute sum of all the numbers and divide that by the count of numbers. Finding median is slightly tricky because you'll have to put the numbers in ascending order. Let me switch over to my Jupyter Notebook session. Please pause the lecture video here and launch Jupyter Notebook in order to follow along with the demo. We are going to get started by defining a median function, which is going to include one parameter as items. How come I'm defining just one parameter when we have to deal with a list of numbers? In Python, whenever you're working with a list, you'll only have one variable name associated with that list, even though that list stores multiple items. For now, I'm just going to call the print function to display items. Let's run the function definition. I'm going to initialize a list called nums with the values of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 for ease of use here. I essentially used a different variable name for the global variable which contains the list here. Of course, you can always define your global variable as items, and that will be part of your global frame, whereas your parameter items will be part of the function call frame. Just to make it clear, I have used different variable names here. Let me call the median function by passing nums as argument. Let's run the existing function definition. Looks like we are getting the expected output here. So let's go through the steps that are required to solve this particular problem. There are going to be two steps. Step one is going to be about arranging the numbers in ascending order, and step number two is going to be about finding middle number in the arranged numbers. We'll be solving each step incrementally. Let's go through step one first. We have a method call which is handy with respect to putting the numbers in ascending order inside a list. Recall that the sort method call enables you to do that. So I'm simply going to say items, which is the variable name storing the list, and then dot sort open parenthesis close parenthesis. Recall that the list method calls have an impact in the values stored within the original variable. So the numbers within the items variable is going to get rearranged now to ascending order. So let's display items list before and after the method call here. I'm going to execute the function definition again. Looks like we are getting three print statements here. Let's get rid of line number 2, and I'm going to rerun the function call again. Observe that the first print statement in line number 4 is showing you the list of numbers as given in the input argument. Line number 6 is showing the output after you arrange the numbers in ascending order. Now that we have been able to go through step number 1, let's go through step number 2. Step number 2 is about finding the middle number in the arranged numbers. Could we just say items of 2? That's because 1 is at index position 0, 2 is at index position 1, 3 is at index position 2, and 3 is the median for this particular list of numbers, correct? Let's for now just try that. So I'm going to use indexing by saying items of 2, and I'm simply going to return that particular item as median of the numbers here. Let's call the print function to display the return value from the median function call here. Looks like we are getting 3 as the return value, which is the correct output. What if I decide to add 2 more numbers here? Let's say that I'm adding 7 and 6 to the beginning of the list here. That's going to still give the median as 3, which is not a correct answer, right? That's because 4 is the median for this particular list of numbers. That's because we hard-coded the index position of the middle number here. How can we fix that? Recall that the len function enables you to count the number of items within any kind of sequence. So len of items in this particular input argument case is going to return a value of 7, correct? So if we want to find the position number for the middle element, we can just divide that by 2, correct? Could we just say len of items divide by 2? That will lead us to an error. Let me show you what the error here is. Let's first read the error stack. We are getting a type error in input cell number 12. This is cell number 12. Which particular line in cell number 12 is giving the type error? That is line 2. Reminder for all of you, if you don't have line numbers turned on, go to view and click on toggle line numbers. Always make sure to do that before you start writing code. So line number 2 is the one which is causing the trouble, and that's our median function call here. So your stack is going to display the details within the median function definition. In input cell number 11, you have your median function definition. In that cell, you're getting type error in line number 7 stating that list indices must be integers or slicers, not float. So this error has something to do with list index, correct? So what is our index here? That's going to be this particular expression. So debug this error by using the print function call to display that particular expression. I'm going to rerun the function definition. Observe that we are getting 3.5 here. Why is line 6 displaying 3.5? That's because len of items is 7. 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. You're doing a regular division. A floating point value as an index does not make sense because you only have items in integer index positions. So how can you fix this? You can just use integer division instead of using regular division. Let me fix that and rerun the function call. Observe that we are getting 4 as the median now, which is the correct value. What if I decide to remove the number 7 here? What do you think the program's return value will be? That is still going to be 4, which is not really correct, right? You have even count of items here. So median should be an average between 3 and 4, which is 3.5. Why are we not getting that? That's because we haven't dealt with that explicitly. We'll have to write a conditional to deal with that. So I'm going to define my conditional as a simple condition saying if len of items mod 2 equal to 1, when your remainder divided by 2 is 1, then you have odd count of items, correct? So I'm simply going to say odd case here, and then I can say else for dealing with even case. Why are we writing a conditional? That's because your action is different for both branches here. When you have odd case, you can simply return the item which is in the middle position, and I'm going to cut this expression, paste it into the if condition part here, and store it into a variable called median. So I'm going to return median from the function. Let's deal with the even case here. For the even case, you'll have to find two numbers here. You already know how to extract the second one. That's given by the same expression that we just went through, correct? So how can you extract the first one? You can say this particular expression minus 1, correct? So let me first define second underscore middle here, and I'm going to just paste the expression from the odd case. First underscore middle is going to be this particular expression, the one which I'm marking within parenthesis minus 1, correct? So what do we want to do with first underscore middle and second underscore middle? We want to compute average. Be very careful to use parenthesis here. That's because addition operator has lower precedence than division operator. Let's run the function definition, and looks like we got 3.5 as the result here. It would be a good idea for you to go back and verify whether the odd case is still working. I'm going to do that by removing the number 6. We are still getting 3 as the median. So looks like the function is working as expected. Let me show you a couple of other input arguments for this particular function call. What would happen if we were to pass a list that contains a set of strings here? So I'm going to say that my list contains the strings as A, C, B. Let me call the median function and display the output using print function call. Looks like we are getting B as the median. That seems to be working as expected, right? What would happen if I were to add one more character to my list of strings here? That's going to throw an error. Why is that the case? Let's read the error stack. Once again, your error is in line number 2 in the cell where you're making function call, and within your median function you're getting error in line number 13. The error says unsupported operand types for str and int, correct? So it's saying that the operand is division here. So it's saying that it has something to do with this particular expression. Let's try to display that particular expression before we compute it. So I'm going to call the print function call to display this part of the expression. Let's run the function definition, and we are going to rerun the function call. Observe that you're getting BC here. When you use the plus operator on strings, you're simply going to concatenate those strings together and create a brand new string. A string divided by 2 does not make any sense. That's why the program throws an error. In this particular case, your input to your function is incorrect. What would happen if you were to pass an empty list as an argument? Let's try that particular case. You're still going to get an error in that particular case. Why is that? So in line number 11, you're saying items of some index minus 1. Let's go through the if condition here. So your if condition is checking if len of items which is 0. 0 mod 2 is going to give you a value of 0 because 0 is even. So you're going to go into the else case. In line number 11, you're trying to access a specific index position within that particular list, correct? So what is the index position? You're saying len of items divided by 2 minus 1. Len of items is 0. 0 integer divide 2 is going to be 0. 0 minus 1 is going to give you minus 1. So you're trying to index into minus 1 position of items. Since items does not contain any values at all, you're trying to access an non-existing index in this particular case here. So that's why the program throws an error. Please make sure to go through additional inputs for this program so that you understand the program in detail. I want to talk about what files you'll have to download for today's lecture. I'm going to go to the schedule page and I'm going to find the CSV lecture. Go to the code link, and then if you click on the files directory, you're going to see a set of input dataset files. Please make sure to download restaurants.xlsx file by right clicking on the raw version of the file. So you can click on view raw and then that will download the file itself here. So I'll pause the lecture video here. In the next video, we'll start talking about the CSV format.